This is the 90th episode of the Effective Executive podcast and YouTube channel. And this week I wanted to talk about, um, I guess, a message to executives is stop torturing your customers. So I'm going to give you a live example I experienced, but I can tell you that most of the large organizations that I work with, past, present, and I'm sure future, do this, and it drives me crazy. But this is a good place to start. Most organizations want feedback, and often executives are they get a bonus based upon customer feedback and things of that sort. And one of the popular tools to use is something called the Net Promoter Score, NPS. And so when you send out a survey to a customer, you have detractors from 0 to 6. You have what are called passives from that score you as 7 or 8, and promoters are 9 and 10. And so the calculation for this winds up being somewhere your organization between minus 100 and plus 100. So, for instance, if you had 10% of the people out there were promoters and 50% were detractors, your score would be a minus 40. So let me just give you an example. I think these examples are important because they're real. Um, uh, Last November, I started making a change, a new contract with Comcast Business. And they kept screwing up my billing. They gave me misinformation. I record all my phone calls, so I always know that what somebody's told me on the phone when I'm calling customer service. So I wound up switching to, I had started with a new contract. You get 30 days on a contract for internet service. Um, and then I finally got so mad about the billing, I couldn't get it fixed. Multiple phone calls, and so I switched to Xfinity Residential, and from that, I'm not going to go through all the details of it, but I wind up I get a $387 credit because of all the misbilling that Comcast Business has done. Um, so um, I've made multiple calls to get to that point, at least for 30 to 60 minutes each to get to the credit that I was entitled to. Um, and one of the qualifications for the credit was to return the equipment, which I did. I knew there was going to be a problem when I went to the UPS store on March 2nd, and they basically said, you might want to hold on to your receipt that you've returned it, because they never uh, keep a record of it, or something happens, something falls apart whenever you send these things in, and I don't know, their system's broken or whatever. But even the UPS store knew that I needed to hang on to my receipt, so I did, and I would have anyway. Um, then, of course, a couple months later, I get a notification from Xfinity, which I thought was weird, because I was with Comcast Business, saying that I had unreturned equipment and had a link on there for me to click. And so I clicked the link and nothing came up. So then I get another notification, probably, I don't know, probably the beginning of May. And it said, click on this link that you have returned equipment. Well, the list of equipment was the equipment I was currently using with Xfinity Residential. It didn't even list the Comcast Business modem that I had. So of course, you have to call and waste time and money, not only on the customer side but on the business side. And that's what I just can't seem to get through to executives, how much money this wastes. All these phone calls, you're spending 30 to 60 minutes on each phone call trying to get something straightened out because you screwed something up during the course of the process. And maybe they think that people will give up. I don't know. Maybe that's seems like a bad way to do business. But anyway, um, so I call in the lady. I said, I just want to make sure you understand what's listed here is the equipment I'm currently using. It doesn't say the Comcast business modem that I did return, and I have the receipt for. So she went and did some things and looked it up and saw, oh yes, you did, and you'd be getting a credit, your credit for that. And I said, great. When will I get that? Because I've already gotten notification. Well, they'll send you another bill that'll have the credit on it again. For $387, then it'll be another 30 days before you get the check. Now, does a survey make sense at this point at all? I mean, the agent knows how Xfinity / Comcast / whatever other names they use performed. So getting a survey is just it's aggravating. I quit filling them out for a combination of reasons. One is, and actually here's an example. Let me put the example of what they send. Hi, Xfinity here. Please provide feedback on your most recent experience. Da 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 da. And there's your net promoter score 0. How likely are you to recommend Xfinity? Well, one, they know how they performed, and two, I can't make a judgment about any of it until I get the actual check in my hand, because that's when I know that this has been completed. Now, the 11 calls, 30 to 60 minutes, you add all that up, it's maddening from a customer perspective. So quit surveying. I've done a number of things on surveys, and I'll put links to them below, but just quit surveying people haphazardly like this. It's aggravating. You get nothing useful from it. Now, people that do respond to the survey is not a random sample. It does not represent the population of people that are your customers. So it's not even a useful baseline. It doesn't help you. It doesn't give you any information that you can actually use. And you're aggravating customers with every time I call in, I get a survey request. Like I said, the agent already knows I was unhappy, and we're not even complete through the process. I haven't gotten the check yet. And like I said, this started last November, and now here we are today. So what lessons? Because I don't work with Comcast or Xfinity. I've worked with a number of telecoms all over the world. But most large organizations that have customers, whether they're business to business or business to consumer, do surveys like this, and they do it wrong, and they don't learn anything, and it's not helpful, and like I said, it can be very aggravating. So the lessons are, they could do a case study on just me. As a matter of fact, I have, and I don't know how useful it would be to put it out there, whether even Comcast, Xfinity, other customers. I've experienced something like this. But it's happening. But end to end, from the time I called last November, where I wanted a new contract, all the way through to the mess that I have trying to return get credit for returning the modem, is just insane. But if they went back and looked at each of the interaction numbers, which I collect also from companies that I call, and they would see the end-to-end system and how broken it is and how much money it wastes. I mean, that's the thing. The costs are incredible. And people say, oh, well, it's only a few minutes on a phone call. No, it's 30 to 60 minutes on a phone call, not including the time that I hold. I only start a recording when somebody picks up the phone. So that's the first thing. Do case studies. Go look and see end to end what's going on in your system. The second thing is do random samples. If you're going to baseline something for your company, and you're going to base bonuses off of it or improvement off of it or learn anything from it, it needs to be a random sample. And you don't have to do every call. The number is 30, and you might be by region or whatever, but randomly select people and call them up and ask them about their experience with Xfinity. Sprint's awful too on this. We have ongoing issues with them. But random samples, fewer of them, will give you a baseline that's useful because it will represent the entire population of your customers and not just the people who respond to a survey. So um, that's the thing. It's better for executives to spend time on stuff like this for on the case studies, listening, observing interactions with customers to pick up what's happening behind the data that you're getting. Um, if you go through that process, you will learn so much about what's wrong with your organization and how much real cost there is. I mean, you can reduce costs in large companies. I mean, millions, even tens of millions of dollars in reduced costs from fewer calls, time spent on calls, right? And you can get referrals if you start fixing these systems where I don't have to call up 11 times in order to get something resolved. So, you know, hopefully there's some takeaway here for executives. I encourage you to go out and spend time where customers interact with your organization, rather than people on the front line having to waste time filling out forms and ticking boxes for their agents or whatever. Is not useful of the time that you have. So please go see what's happening behind the Net Promoter Score data. Understand what issues are associated with it if you really want honest feedback, and maybe you don't. I know many companies and many executives, they get manipulated data so that they can get their bonus or hit their target or whatever it is. But once you're honest with yourself and you start to work on your organization, now you're making progress. So that was my message for this week. Stop torturing your customers with these surveys. And remember, there's always a better way.